News of the day, news of the week, and it seems like every day, every other day, there's just another occurrence similar to this one. And here, very embarrassingly, we're going to see Kristi Noem react. Once again, spinning and twisting the obvious facts. There's video evidence of very clearly what happened, the facts of the case. And you have the Department of Homeland Security, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, just completely lying, doing a form of character assassination, continuing this very dark period in American history.
I do want to address the tragic situation that we saw in Minneapolis today that unfolded on the streets. It occurred with DHS law enforcement as they carried out their lawful duties to keep Americans safe in the threat of criminal illegal aliens in this country.
Keeping Americans safe, right? I guess Americans only apply to whatever you guys want to paint it as, and I'll put some screenshots up of what exactly they're looking for in American citizens. But what did DHS do today in terms of protecting the so-called American citizens that you guys claim to protect? And a couple days ago in Minnesota, I wonder what happened. What exactly happened to that so-called protection of them? These guys aren't law enforcement. These guys are hired off the street, given 3 days of training, if even that is probably 20 minutes of training, and they give them a gun. And you wonder why they go on these huge ego trips committing all types of atrocities around America.
At 9:05 a.m. Central Time, the Department of Homeland Security law enforcement officials and officers were conducting targeted operations in Minneapolis against an illegal alien whose criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license.
I wonder how true this is, actually. I highly doubt that's true. And even if it is true, ICE, DHS, anybody affiliated with DHS, they do not even need a shred of legitimate doubt to persecute, beat you up, or shoot you. The person they shot was not even the person they were looking for. It was a protester who was exercising his Second Amendment right, carrying a firearm legally, something that they vehemently protect, their Second Amendment right. But DHS, they don't need an actual reason to persecute you. They will profile you, whatever they want to do. These people go on ego trips. You get in their way, they push the fuck out of you. They push the shit out of you. You get in their way, they punch you. They get in their way, they jump you with 5 or 6 officers at their side. And what happened today? They shot somebody after ganging up on him, taking him down, getting punches in, and then shooting him 6, 7 times. Shooting him multiple times to kill. No other purpose besides that.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
This is an absolute bold-faced lie. It's not ignorance. It's a complete lie and fabrication, an alteration of the facts. The man that was shot and killed in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, was not approaching them with a 9mm handgun. He approached with his cell phone, a cell phone. You can even see the agents, the so-called agents, push the person that was next to him before engaging with him with about 5 to 6 agents as they tackle him during the altercation before they end up shooting him.
The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently.
He was jumped by 6 law enforcement officers after he pulled his phone out. He had his phone out and he got jumped by more than 5 officers at once. What violent response was even given? He was pinned down and tackled before being shot to death. So tell me, what violent response did he do? And how did they try to just disarm him? That was not a disarmament. They tackled him and then killed him.
Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots.
Defensive shots were not what was fired. When you shoot somebody about 8 times, those aren't defensive shots. When somebody is on the floor after being tackled by 7 agents at once, when all they had was a phone out. He didn't go for his gun. He didn't have his gun on him at the time when he was shot at. You can see very clearly in the video, one of the agents took away his gun seconds before he got shot. There is no proof that he even reached for his gun. They were not defensive shots. They were completely aggressive and uncalled for shots to kill. He was murdered.
Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
It's disgusting how they build such portrayals of what they want to see so they can wipe their hands clean. When everybody in the world saw today, even the most pure of MAGA conservatives, obviously there's still going to be all those that will ignore the evidence of their eyes and do whatever the party tells them to. But there was a lot of people who saw, and even they couldn't defend it.
About hundreds of protesters then showed up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects. and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off.
Yeah, poor ICE officer. Yeah, I think everybody should pity these individuals for rounding up and beating multitudes of innocent people, and even causing events like we've seen in these past couple of days in Minneapolis.
Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen. Our law enforcement are doing everything that they can to protect the public. We're praying for this deceased loved one's family and friends.
Why is it so difficult to hold accountability for your own department? Why is it so difficult to just acknowledge the facts that everybody has seen? These agents are not there to ensure the safety of Americans. They're there to ride ego trips, enjoy the weapons that were given to them after a couple of half-assed weeks of training, and the pay that they get when they go out to live their most wildest fascist dreams, rounding up multitudes of brown people.
But we also recognize that the Minnesota governor and the Minneapolis mayor need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. They need to evaluate their rhetoric, their conversations, and their encouragement of such violence against our citizens and our law enforcement officers. I'll remind you that Governor Walz today in his press conference said that our officers were not even law enforcement, which is a lie.
They're not law enforcement. He's completely right. These guys were given badges and they were given weapons after a couple of weeks of half-ass shitty training. And then we see the results of what we saw today, magnified by this insane rhetoric that you guys have been pushing and your administration has been pushing and your fan base and your voters and your people have been pushing. Not Tim Walz, not the Democrats, your people. It is your fault that an innocent person today was killed. It's your department that did it, and it was their fault, and you need to hold accountability for it. And I can't wait till you're put on trial and held responsible for all your actions and your lies.
He's called them the Gestapo.
100% true.
He's encouraged residents and citizens and violent rioters to resist.
Had to add that final manipulative descriptive trait at the end right there. Violent rioters. Keep that in mind.
He's doxed their identities, putting themselves and their families' lives in jeopardy. He's refused to turn over murders to federal law enforcement officers. He's protected illegal criminals and protected them from being brought to justice.
Yeah, what a complete and absolute abhorrent human being for not wanting to cooperate with your Gestapo fascist regime and your complete arbitrary persecution of individuals in this country who you deem, by whatever metrics you want, as individuals fit for whatever beatings and whatever judgment that your so-called law enforcement officers are deployed there doing.
And even overseeing a historic, unprecedented theft of American taxpayer dollars. Tens of billions of dollars were stolen under his watch, and he allowed it to happen, and in some instances may have even facilitated it.
Everything is intentionally stupid with these people. Everything is intentionally deceptive and manipulative, and they just grasp at absolutely anything they can to magnify it and use it as a talking point. Nick fucking Shirley's bogus ass journalistic venture has no legitimacy whatsoever. The kid has no legitimacy whenever it comes to anything he says. He has no logic. He has no consistency. He just says bullshit that he regurgitates, that he barely remembers with whatever finite quantity of brain cells he's clustered together to form something semblant of a brain, is not an excuse. But everything has to be intentionally deceptive with these people. Everything has to be a talking point, a shtick. And we're only the first month into the new year, and these things are escalating to very, very tumultuous points. And this is not something that's interesting. These are things that shouldn't happen. We can only hope that they stop, and we can only hope that these incidents are reduced to a minimum as soon as possible.